we got to touch in on the Blake Lively situation. On Monday, Judge Lewis Lyman dropped a bomb to the benefit of Blake Lively when he all of a sudden dismissed Justin Baldoni's $400 million lawsuit against Blake and his $250 million defamation suit against the New York Times. Justin filed his suit in January. Blake's lawyers officially filed a motion to dismiss it on March 20th, 2025, almost 3 months ago. So why did the judge toss it now? That seems to be the question everybody's asking. Mark Geragos coming up in a few minutes here. He's going to explain all of that because I don't get it either. But Judge Lyman concluded all of a sudden that since Blake made her serious allegations of sexual harassment against Justin in a legal California civil rights complaint, what she alleged is actually privileged or protected. Therefore, it lacks the necessary malice to be deemed defamation. That also releases Ryan Reynolds and Blake's publicist Leslie Sloan from Baldoni's suit as well, because their characterizations of Justin as a sexual predator stem from Blake's legally filed allegations. And since their assertions were based on a legal filing, they're not slander or defamation either. What the hell? You can file something called a civil complaint and after that, no one can accuse you of anything. It's just all of a sudden you're indemnified. I don't get it. Basically, Team Baldoni believes the civil rights complaint that Blake filed back in December of 2020 was a shield to say and allege whatever she wanted without recourse. Justin claims months prior that she threatened to take that action if he didn't essentially give her creative control of his movie. It ends with us. So that'll be interesting. Discovery is going to go forward. We are going to find out if, in fact, she did make that threat. Give me my creative control, or I'm going to file this complaint. To be clear, 5 of the 9 major claims in Baldoni's lawsuit have been permanently dismissed. Amazingly. The other 4, though, can be amended and refiled by June 23rd. No doubt Brian Friedman, Baldoni's lawyer, is doing that right now. So his case will proceed. Those 4 still viable claims having to do with the breach of contract against Blake are false light, invasion of privacy. Basically saying that she damaged his reputation by painting him in a misleading manner. Promissory fraud. Basically, she made promises to Baldoni to lure him into cooperating with her demands for control of the film. Tortious interference with contract. She intentionally messed with his contractual relationships with financiers and promoters, so she screwed up the business of the film. Remember, Wayfair is the producer. And breach of implied covenant of good faith and fair dealing, which means she just violated the trust inherent in a good working relationship. So are they packing up and going home? Not a chance. Brian Friedman said this on TMZ Live yesterday.
On a false victory tour, and she's afraid of the truth. And the truth is, going to be shown through depositions, which is what's going to be next. I've noticed her deposition. It's set in June. We're going to see if she's going to appear at that deposition or not. And we're going to proceed forward with the case. And we're going to show that there was no sexual harassment. And we're going to show that there was no smear campaign.
Yeah, okay, so there's Friedman, and Blake's lawyers came out with an emphatic statement of victory shortly after Judge Lyman's decision to dismiss the Baldoni suit. They said today's opinion is a total victory and a complete vindication for Blake Lively, along with those that Justin Baldoni and the Wayfair parties dragged into their retaliatory lawsuit, including Ryan Reynolds, Leslie Sloan, and the New York Times. Oh, the poor New York Times. As we've said from day one, this $400 million lawsuit was a sham, and the court saw right through it. We look forward to the next round, which is seeking attorney's fees, treble damages, punitive damages against Baldoni, Sarowitz, the publicist Melissa Nathan, and other Wayfair parties who perpetrated this abusive litigation. All right, so what does this all mean? Joining us right now for some Geragosian analysis, the great Mark Geragos, who can break this down for us. Mark, everybody in the chat section is asking the same question. Why?
Which is?
Now? I mean, why couldn't Judge Life, if Baldoni filed the suit in January, say it was January 10th, why wouldn't he throw it out on January 11th? Why does it take till June?
Well, it is in federal court, number one. There is a protocol, if you will, that you have to go through. And so is this warp speed or no, but it also is not a slow roll. So that it, to me, is not really the most pertinent question. The most pertinent question is, will this hold up? Because you do have, as Brian just articulated, you do still have the discovery process. And if in the discovery process, some things come out that turn out to undercut the decision by His Honor, hold on to your horses or buckle up, whatever cliche you want to use. This is far from over. I agree with Brian on this.
So if things come out that aren't, friendly to Blake, and they come out in the discovery process, can Brian then re-engage? Would Lyman say, okay, well, you know what, you can re-engage that lawsuit? Because as I understand it, there are 4 claims that are still viable out of the 9 claims that were in Justin Baldoni's $400 million suit. He can still go forward with a bunch of breach of contract stuff and invasion of privacy, and things like that.
I'm really a little kind of perplexed as to the victory lap that Lively's lawyers are taking. I don't get it. I mean, I should take that back. I do get it. When you win and it's a lengthy opinion, you're obviously going to crow about it. But it really is premature if we're being honest about it.
Friedman would have done that. He would have crowed too. We know Friedman.
Look, I would have crowed. Yeah. So I get it. I get the.
You guys crow.
I get the crowing. We do. That's what we get paid to crow.
You guys are tremendous crowers. Look, it's all very shocking to me. It seems to me like total victory. No, it seems to me like a great legal move, but it's one that most people don't understand. So you're telling me that if I want to call Mark Geragos a total creep and, pedophile, whatever I want to call you, if I file a civil rights complaint with California, that indemnifies me, that protects me, so you can't retaliate and go after me for calling you such things?
It's really one of these weird anomalies in the law where you can, and I don't agree with it in most cases, and I think in most cases, people don't have the wherewithal or the resources to fight it. But one of these things that a lot of people do is they hide behind the immunities of the lawsuit. So, in other words, if you use the lawsuit in order to do what you could not do across the street from the courthouse, that somehow grants you immunity. It's like a shield around you that protects you.
Not just you, but Ryan Reynolds and Leslie Sloan and everyone else saying, well, no, we called him if we called him a sexual predator, it's not that. We're going off this lawsuit that we found from this nice woman over here named Blake Lively, like they aren't all together or something, just because it seems very believe her-ish to me. Hashtag believe her, something we went through and doesn't seem to be that prevalent anymore, that you can just say those things.
We're sitting here right now as I sit in New York City, Harvey Weinstein, the jury has had a devil of a time on the retrial. Nobody even knows that case is being retried. It's amazing to me that you talk about somebody who was wall to wall a number of years ago. You could not go anywhere and not hear about it. And now the jury's been deliberating for days, was hung, came back on one guilt, not on another, and they're still hung, and you haven't heard anything about it. It's been all the oxygen is sucked out of the air because of Diddy and, to a much lesser degree, Karen Reed.
Okay, so by the way, quickly on the Harvey Weinstein thing, so they said he's guilty of the sexual assault charge against Miriam Haley, but not guilty on the the Kaya Sokola one, and then they're waiting on the third. But it seems even if it's just that one count that he's guilty of, he's going away, right? Harvey's not going to get out now.
Well, the part about this case being retried in New York is he's still facing a multi over 10-year sentence out of California on the California conviction. Why anybody felt that it was necessary to retry this New York case right now just shows you, as I've always said, it's wonderful to be a prosecutor because you've got no budget. You can just do whatever you want. Nobody's ever going to cut your budget because you always just wrap yourself in law and order, and that's all that matters. What sense does it make to retry a man in his 70s who's in ill health, who's already facing a minimum of 10 more years somewhere else, which he's not going to outlive? But you're going to waste all the resources to retry him.
Well, if you're a woman and
jury,
if you're a woman and you in your heart you were sexually assaulted, that like these three women
if you're a woman in your heart, he's got a life sentence out of California. What is the point? What interest are you vindicated?
Well, maybe that doesn't set them free. I
don't know that this unsatisfactory resolution sets anybody free.
Okay, but all right, let's get back to Blake Lively 1 second. So, Brian Friedman, now, what does Friedman do? You guys are good friends. I'm sure you talk about this. Does he feel like he's had his wings clipped, or does he have some, moves ahead of him?
I've known Brian for a long time, and I'm not talking out of school because I haven't talked to him since the verdict, or it's not a verdict, it's a decision in this case. But I know Brian. If I had to predict, this has just made him even stronger, but dare I say a little bit angrier and more resolved to achieve justice.
Should he have seen this coming? Lawyer, should he have seen this coming,
absolutely. I mean, you never, ever, in high stakes litigation, any high stakes litigator will tell you, always, part of what your bread and butter is, you look at every permutation, every possibility, and you always expect the worst and prepare for the worst.
So Brian should have known that Blake could hide behind a CRD complaint and basically immunize herself from any type of defense that Justin would put up against her, right?
Hey, look, I will just tell you, I don't think it's over by a long shot. This is not the end. I think this is just the beginning. Okay. It's the first skirmish. It's not the battle.
All right. This is what we call Geragosian analysis, and people pay top dollar for this, but not me, because I've known Mark a long time.
Yeah, you have known me for longer than I care to admit.
I really appreciate it, though. Thank you, man.
Thanks, Philly.
Mark Geragos. Yeah, I got to tell you, the Michael Jackson trial, Mark Geragos, to me, he represented Michael Jackson. I remember that. That's when we really connected back in 2005.